Hey everybody, it's Kathy Boyle. I'm president of Chapin Hill Advisors. I have a planning firm, so I'm a born plan-a-holic. So I'm going to come on today and talk to you a little bit about how to stay focused in these trying times. So a lot of people are not used to working from home. I'm getting all kinds of text messages from my friends saying, are you okay? Are you lonely? You're feeling isolated? I've worked from a home office for the last 7 years. We closed our New York City office back in the end of 2012. So I'm very comfortable working from home. I'm also extremely busy and extremely focused. So I have a lot going on every day. So I am not bored, I'm not isolated, and I'm not lonely. So I get lots of interaction, and we've switched all our meetings to Zoom calls. But that's not the case for everybody. So I'm going to come on and give you a couple of tips on how to stay focused and proactive in this area, okay? So the first thing is that I'm finding that people feel distressed. They're worried about money, they're waking up in the middle of the night, feeling, oh my God, am I going to be able to get my business back? Are they going to rehire me at the firm? Am I laid off permanently? What are my employment options? What kind of access to capital can I do to get my business back up and running? So all of these are very real and very pressing concerns. But you have to put them in a box because they don't help. If you're nervous and anxious, I get anxious when I don't know who I'm going to call next, when I don't have a list of people to call. When I work in a vacuum, I don't do well. So I do well from lists. So I like lots of lists. So the first technique in terms of actual business prep is to make lists. Start with a day planner. I live with a Franklin Day Planner. I've used this since the late 80s when I was first trained on it when I worked for Merrill Lynch. Franklin Covey's system, Stephen Covey has some great strategies on staying focused. So 20 minutes of planning the day before can actually save you as much as 2 hours the following day. So make a list on what your priorities are. On the left-hand side of my day planner, I put the macro categories. So sponsors, we have events. I'm still looking for sponsors. So that goes on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side are either the categories or the names of the people I'm going to call. Clients, left-hand side clients, right-hand side, the actual top 5 clients I'm calling for that day. Anything else that I have to do for the business. So I might have payables, I might have receivables, I might have to talk with the bookkeeper, I might have to talk to my VAs, I might have a group meeting. So anything goes over, again, CHA on the left-hand side for Chapin Hill Advisors, right-hand side is the list of things I'm doing. So that's number 1. Number 2, I actually take a legal pad and time block my day. The key is to do the hardest topics, the hardest things first, because those are the things that move your business. So the things that often take longer, we put off, we don't want to address them, maybe somebody owes us money, we hate to chase them. So if you don't have anyone else to chase them right now, then it's your job. It's important to get that money in before people feel like they have no more. So that goes on first. So the hardest topics should go first. The biggest things that you want to tackle, it's really easy to do lots of little things and feel like you're accomplishing something, but you're not moving the needle. So the key is to prioritize your list A, B, C, and attack the A's first. I actually time block my day because, again, without that, you don't stay focused. Another technique is to actually set a stopwatch or a clock or actually just focus 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time on a task. What I do for a living in terms of succession planning is very intense. When I'm in the middle of a client's issues, there's so many details. Sometimes I take 5 pages of notes on a call. I happen to have a very good memory, but getting all those details in order and remembering each piece of it can be very intense. If you are interrupted in the middle of an intense assignment, getting back to where you were can take as much as 13 minutes. So if that happens 4 times a day, you lost an hour of productivity. So on the exercise of just staying focused, those couple of tips will really help you dramatically. Another thing that happens is if you want to schedule your time blocks of, let's say, outside time. I'm actually very externally motivated, so I love having calls with outside people. If I do a video interview with somebody or a Zoom call, I'm very energized. So for me, I like to start my day that way. Now, you can't start your day every day that way, or it just doesn't work for everybody. 8 o'clock in the morning is interfering with other people's lives at this point if the kids are home and they're getting meals out the door, etc. But typically, I would start a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning a couple times a week. So moving to Zoom video is another great technique. You do need to have backup in case I've seen some people complaining that they're having trouble getting online. I find at 9 o'clock in the morning my internet is slowed down from what it normally is. So I think with the sheer volume of everybody drawing on their cable, it's slowing down speeds a bit. So Zoom is the first one, but you can also do WhatsApp, you can do FaceTime, you can do Skype. There's other types of online applications. I'm not as familiar with all the rest. There's something called Blue Jean. But basically choose a technology, have a backup technology in case that one is not working, and just know how to use it. So you can switch most of your meetings right now to Zoom. You don't always have to have them in person, but having the eye-to-eye contact really does help. And if you want to share your screen or show people anything, it's much easier on a Zoom call to just share screen and show them what you're looking at. So those are a couple of techniques in terms of staying focused at the office. But the other big picture is you have to stay motivated in this period of time. It's very easy to feel bereft. It's very easy to feel anxious. So a couple of things you should do are in the morning, 15 minutes, 10 minutes minimum, meditate. Just find some quiet time, find a peaceful place where you're alone, not interrupted, and you can just quiet your thoughts. Meditate, be grateful for what you do have. If you have your family and your health, if you have a roof over your head, heat and water and the basic necessities that unfortunately much of the world does not have, be thankful and grateful. So by being grateful, you just are sending out positive energy and it will bring it back. If you're having a tough time breaking out of a negative thought pattern or you're really feeling anxious or depressed, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and worry. I have a speaking business that generates a fair amount of revenue, and we have events that also generate revenue. So a couple of weeks ago, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my goodness, all my events have been canceled. My events won't take place in the schedule that we had outlined them, so our timeline is off. I have sponsors that have paid me, and they're expecting benefits. And then the speaking engagements, everything that we've been pitching are all being canceled. I had 2 speaking engagements canceled for last week alone. So very easy to get anxious and nervous, but what we're doing is pivoting. So we are creating new benefits for our sponsors. We are doing online webinars every week with our sponsors featured and topics that are pertinent to the general audience. We're also creating a networking function in this so that we're creating a way for people to stay focused and be able to connect with one another. So that's a pivot of my own. The next thing we're doing is on speaking engagements. It is possible to get paid for webinars right now. Virtually the whole world has gone virtual. We have 1 billion people on lockdown. So everybody from the large banks to the brokerage firms to the Viacoms of the world are all looking for online solutions and keeping their workforce motivated, connected, good habits, how it actually work. I was on with a partner at one of the large accounting firms, and he pointed out that the whole millennial generation lives with laptops, so none of them have actually monitors at their homes. And so apparently there are no monitors available in New York City. The other thing is they don't have desks. They don't have home offices because they live in little tiny apartments, often with roommates. So they don't have an actual desk and a chair. These are very practical considerations that nobody had to face before this because they never work from home. They're junior folks and they come to work and they do the work, and during tax season they work 1 million hours. So now all of a sudden they're supposed to work 1 million hours from home without all these other tools, and can't work on your bed for 10 hours a day with a laptop. So these are really very real pragmatic issues to face. So one of the things I suggest you do is podcast. I love podcasts. There's so much talent out there. So a couple great podcasts are Tony Robbins, of course. He is a great motivational guy. So if you're feeling unmotivated, if you're feeling down in the dumps, honestly, listen to 10 minutes of one of his podcasts. He's got some great material. Another thing that Tony teaches you to do is that if you physically get up and move your body, you can change your mental state. So honestly, it can be as easy as getting up and, silly as it sounds, doing 20 jumping jacks. It gets the blood flowing and it gets you energized and it can change your mindset. But Tony's got some great YouTube videos as well as podcasts. Another podcast that's great is The Unstoppable CEO by Steve Gordon. He interviews wonderful people and has a tremendous, great interviewing style. You get a lot of value out of each of his guests. Another one is Michael Selzner with Social Media Marketing. He has great guests on as well, and they cover the entire range of social media. So if you are struggling with how to launch digital right now, Michael's guests are fabulous sources of information. So Michael Selzner, Social Media Marketing. And one last one is Hands Off CEO, and that's Mandy Ellerson, and she often has some good guests. I prefer the ones with guests. So she has some great guys. Last week she had, or a couple weeks ago, Tim Francis, who has great assistants. And so he talks about just using VA to maximize your business. So these are all great things to listen to when you're driving, when you're out there walking, when you are taking a shower and putting your makeup on, getting dressed in the morning. Great way to maximize use of your time. The other thing is you've been given a gift of time. Time we can't replicate, money we can replicate. But time, if you spend an hour going to the office each way, or I used to commute to New York City, so I lost 3 hours a day commuting. Podcasts are a great way to make use of the drive time. Train time, I would work a lot of that time, but not always. So now you have 3 hours a day or 2 hours a day or an hour a day, which you were spending commuting. Go outside and walk out in the woods, walk around the reservoir if you're in the city, take a jog, start running with your dogs, walk with your spouse, walk with your kids. Enjoy, again, the nature, the freedom that we have living in this great country that we have. And getting exercise is critical to your well-being. And the last tip is food. It's critical, again, to keep your immune system boosted and to eat well during this period of time. A lot of people are used to going out to eat. They're used to ordering lunch in, which brings a tremendous amount of calories and sodium and everything else into our lives. I happen to be a gourmet cook. I'm a vegan. I love to cook, but I don't love to cook every day. So I organize my meals in the beginning of the week. I shop with a list based on the meals I'm planning to create. I also keep a pretty well-stocked pantry with all the basics, so I always have beans, I always have sweet potatoes and onions, I always have grains, so I always have the basics, and I have a tremendous spice rack that can't be duplicated. So, and the basics like maple syrup are critical, and cashews for vegetarians and vegans, as all our cheeses are made with nuts. So I tend to cook in the beginning of the week. I will make up a couple of dishes, I will cut them in half, label them, and freeze half. So that's a great way of having wonderful meals for next week. If you do this a couple of weeks in a row, you actually, unless you have teenagers at home who have bottomless pits for stomachs, you actually have meals left over for next week. And some really simple things can be done. I put a post on LinkedIn today with a pasta Caesar salad. So it's an actual romaine salad, but I made the croutons in advance, I cooked the pasta in advance, I made the Caesar dressing in advance. So I'm also making a quote-unquote chicken, which is made out of chickpeas, cutlet with a Caesar dressing. So the same dressing, garbanzo is making the patties. I make 4, freeze 2, and I have 2 meals. So if you can think about your meal planning in advance, A, you save multiple trips to the grocery store, so you're saving time, energy, gas, and exposure to other people. B, if you're cooking meals like this, you're cooking healthier meals, you have variety, you always have something good to eat. And the final tip I'll give you is, you may or may not believe this, but apple cider vinegar and turmeric are tremendous resources right now. You need to boost your immune system, you need to stay as healthy as possible. So I do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, along with a tablespoon of honey, teaspoon of turmeric, a half teaspoon of dried ginger, or you can do a teaspoon of fresh, and 3 rounds of pepper. I do this as a tea every morning. It's the first thing in my body, and I swear by it. It boosts your immune system. I also take probiotics, and I have another drink that I do. It's a green tea, and I put something in it called Vitality, which I get from Body Ecology. So it's ground up sea algae, and again, helps boost your immune system, helps with gut health. And so those are some techniques. Be very careful not to eat too much sugar and to overeat during this period of time. It'll just make you feel slowed down. Sugar is not good for your immune system, and sugar is very, very addictive. So it's in everything we eat. Very difficult to avoid unless you cook your own food. So those are the tips. Again, I'm a plan-a-holic. I'm very organized. I have 4 different businesses going. I have a number of VAs working for me, but that's how I get it all done. I stay very organized. I do work a lot of hours, but I'm very, very focused, and I keep lists, and I have a timeline. I waste very little time every day, and I kick out a lot of work. So please stay safe during this period of time. Feel free to reach out to me at kboyle@chapinhill.com for any questions you might have. We're always delighted to give you a complimentary review, talk to you about your business. We help people plan their business for success, whether that's an exit, a sale, or just growing the business. We come up with marketing ideas, planning ideas, revenue ideas, and we help you plot out your path for greater success. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening.